Parliamentary Secretary to the Prime Minister.
Madame la Présidente, merci beaucoup.
Madam Speaker, thank you very much. It's an honor to be here in this historic chamber to give my first speech as the federal member for Vaudreuil-Soulanges. Madam Speaker, I would first like to thank all of the people of Vaudreuil-Soulanges for their support, for giving me the opportunity to represent them here in Parliament during this mandate. I would also like to thank my wife Paula, who was always there for me during the long campaign, my son Anderson, who each day gives me the energy I need to continue, my mother Louisa, Jean-Paul, and Alain, my brother Alexander, and all the members of my family who helped me to become the voice of my community here in Ottawa.
The great people of Vaudreuil-Soulanges for giving me the honour to address this House today and to represent them and be their voice here in this historic chamber during the 42nd Parliament. Ensemble, Madame la Présidente.
Madam Speaker, the speech from the throne was very well received by my fellow citizens. I had the opportunity to discuss it with many of them since it was read by His Excellence the Governor General. I received many positive and encouraging comments on this government. I would add, Madam Speaker, that the choice of this government does represent the values of my fellow citizens and those of Canadians, especially equality and opportunity. Madam Speaker, that has contributed to making Canada one of the most prosperous countries in the world. It is a land chosen each year by hundreds of thousands of people in search of a better life. I am confident that the plan of this government, as expressed in the speech from the throne, will mean that the people of Vaudreuil-Soulanges and those of everywhere in the country will be able to reach their potential. Over the past 10 years, demographic growth in Vaudreuil-Soulanges has been one of the highest in the country. Tens of thousands of people have chosen to live in our region. Many of them came because of the richness of our natural heritage. I'm speaking, Madam Speaker, about the panoramic views of Morigo and the orchards of Ile Perrot. I'm talking about the water in Hudson, the stables in Saint-Lazare, and the agricultural land throughout our region. That is why, Madam Speaker, I join myself to the citizens of Vaudreuil-Soulanges in the goal of building a stronger economy while respecting our environment. My fellow citizens in Vaudreuil-Soulanges are eager for an environmental evaluation system that is stronger, which will give their municipal representatives, as well as Aboriginal communities, a voice in the project development process. In addition, my fellow citizens welcome the government's promise to invest historic amounts in sustainable, green technology and infrastructure, as well as in Canada's capacity to mitigate climate change. All of that will contribute to the growth of our economy while ensuring the protection and preservation of our environment. In fact, Madam Speaker, this government recognizes that our natural resources, first and foremost, belong to future generations and that we must do all in our power to protect them.
Madam Speaker, our community has had the privilege of welcoming so many new families over the last decade, predominantly young families like my own with young children. These families have come from the island of Montreal, from all across the province of Quebec and Ontario, and from all around the world. They are proud to add to the richness of culture and history that blankets our region. Our community is proud to celebrate this diversity through annual cultural festivities in the cities of Pincourt and Vaudreuil, and the citizens of my riding applaud this government statement in the speech from the throne, and I quote, "We are, as Canadians, stronger because of our differences, not in spite of them." Madam Speaker, I also want to state that the families that make up my riding are incredibly hardworking families. They're owners of small businesses, they're farmers, they're healthcare workers, they're teachers, aerospace workers, pilots, public servants, and of course, Madam Speaker, the hardest job of all, their parents and their grandparents. Like most Canadians, they're working longer hours, yet still find it hard to make ends meet and provide for their children and grandchildren. And that is why, Madam Speaker, they welcome this government's pledge to increase support for lower-income seniors and reduce taxes for middle-class families, both of which will put more money in the pockets of those that need it and less in the pockets of those that don't. They also welcome this government's plan to introduce a more progressive Canada Child benefit, a plan that, according to the Parliamentary Budget Officer, will lift over 300,000 children out of poverty, many of whom, Madam Speaker, live in my community. Au Canada aujourd'hui,
In Canada today, over 1 million children, nearly 1 out of 5, live in poverty. 1 out of 5. Madam Speaker, I am proud that this government has decided to address this unacceptable reality. In doing so, we are following in the footsteps of other Canadians who, before us, have had the confidence and courage to invest in the future of our country, future generations. I believe that my honorable colleagues agree. It is the best way to equip ourselves for future challenges. That is why, Madam Speaker, this government will put forward an ambitious plan to respond to the issues affecting Canadian youth. As the Parliamentary Secretary to the Prime Minister for Youth, these issues are, of course, very important for me. In addition, these issues affect me in a special way because I was raised by a single mother and because today, Madam Speaker, I am the father of a 14-month little boy, and I want to make him proud.
Working with the Prime Minister to increasing the voice that our youth have in the walls of Parliament by creating the first ever Youth Advisory Council to the Prime Minister. I look forward to ensuring that we increase opportunities that we offer youth to serve their country, both locally and abroad. I look forward to implementing our plan to reduce the economic burden of all Canadian youth who pursue post-secondary education. And, Madam Speaker, I look forward to providing economic opportunity by reducing the economic burden of unemployed youth on their families by increasing the capacity of the government's summer job program over the next 3 years. L'idée, Madame la Présidente.
The idea, Madam Speaker, is that if we put all of our efforts into channeling the energy, innovation, and creativity of all young Canadians, our country will benefit. This principle has always been one of the drivers of our country's success, and it will help us to realize our full potential.
Speaker, I take this opportunity to note that at one point in our history, we stood up and recognized that if we wanted our country to thrive, we needed to provide every single woman with the same rights and privileges of men. At one point in our history, we rose up to make the case for universal primary and secondary education to ensure that we empowered the next generation with the tools necessary to meet the challenges of their time. And yes, Madam Speaker, at one point in our history, we recognized that providing equal universal health care for all Canadians was necessary to ensure that we met the basic needs of our population. This ensured that the thoughts of Canadians were focused not on how they would pay for their health care costs or the health care costs of their family members, but instead on growing strong families, building more prosperous businesses, creating or assisting community groups, and serving our country in other ways. These are just some of the ideas and plans that have been put in place over our 149-year history and that have helped Canadians build a Canada that every single one of us in this House can be proud of. Madame la Présidente.
Madam Speaker, when we invest in Canadians, we set the table for a stronger, more prosperous country for us and for future generations. It is for these reasons, and for many others, that I am proud of the way forward chosen by our government since October 19th. On behalf of all of the people of Vaudreuil-Soulanges, Madam Speaker, thank you.